Hello, today we're going to learn how to julienne an onion. I'm going to use this onion right here because it is a little bit more in the round shape. These kind of onions, because they're a little bit more oblong, they're not very good or they're not very easy. So what you're going to need is you're going to need an onion and a sharp knife. You start by cutting the onion from root to root in half. You are then going to want to cut the ends of the onion so that it lays flat. We're going to peel the onion. It's going to make it easy because we got rid of the ends. Now we're going to grab our peeled onion and we're going to remove the bottom few layers, and I'm going to put them here in this container to save them for later. So we're going to remove just a few layers from the very bottom. And then we're going to work with layers. So we're going to grab a few layers from the onion and we're going to separate them. And these are going to be the layers that we're going to be working with. You want maybe like 2 to 3 layers per group. Now to do this step, you can use a paring knife. I prefer to use my big vegetable knife, but the other knife works perfectly well as well. So we're going to grab one of these groups of onions and we're going to cut the ends of it. The idea again is to try to help our onions to fall flat. I'm going to put these in my little recipient to the side, and then once we lay it flat, we're going to start cutting very, very finely, like so. The idea behind cutting them like this is so that the onions sweat and they basically melt once you start cooking them. Grab them from the side, and then we're going to do the same process longwise. You want very, very, very thinly sliced onions. So what we end up with is this kind of texture, which is a little bit on the kind of translucent, almost looks like it's like a jelly consistency. Now, a different method that I like to do whenever I'm in a hurry or I don't want to spend the time cutting the onions like that, it's significantly faster and it doesn't give you onions as fine, but once you cook them, it's perfectly fine. So here I have the other half of the onion already peeled, and since the onion is already layered like this, what we're going to do is we're going to cut grooves on the side of the onions like this. And once we do this, then we're going to cut it from the end of the onion inwards. And again, we want to try to have as thinly as possible sliced onions. And we can see how the onions fall apart. Now, once you get to the end, sometimes the grooves that you made, they don't go all the way, right, to try to keep the onion together. So what I like to do is just fold it to the side, groove it a little bit more. And again, this part doesn't have to be exact. And then do the same thing. And it'll generate those very finely chopped onions that we want. It's hard to see from the video, but the consistency of these onions are not as thin as the ones we had before. And just as a final comparison side by side, I have the half onion that I cut via the second method, and then I have the half onion that I cut via the julienne method. But you can see how the texture is significantly thinner compared from one to the other. Hopefully you learned something today, how to make delicious julienne onions for any dish that you need. Thank you very much for watching my videos.